My name is Mick from Heartbeat Digital. If you want to find out more about us, you can always go to heartbeatdigital.com.au. I'm the head of digital marketing at this company, and we provide a whole range of digital marketing services primarily for the Australian healthcare industry. We also have clients outside of healthcare, but that's really our area of specialization. We've been servicing clients in this area for many years, building thousands of websites and providing digital marketing services for many clients. Today we're going to cover images mainly around websites. So obviously image use, when you're talking about digital marketing, we cover things such as social media, Google Ads, all sorts of stuff, Google Business Profile, but we're mainly talking about how they work on websites today. So the topics we're going to cover are where to get images for free. We'll also show you some paid options, how to avoid copyright issues with images, how to edit images for use online, and themes, styles, placement, size of images. It's a pretty broad sort of topic, but I hope that we can get through it all and make some sort of sense for you. So just a little bit about us again. Again, my Heartbeat Digital. We do, as I just said, digital marketing for Australian healthcare industry. Today we have a competition running where you can get, for people who attend our webinar, who I can see you out there, you get a free session with us. It's a deep dive and strategy. So we look at your website, look at your web assets, take a deep dive on it all and see where the opportunities are and give you recommendations. So that's a really good prize. Normally that will be worth $750, but you get it for absolutely free. You will be drawn out of a hat and we will see the winner. And the second prize is an Uber Eats voucher for a Uber Eats restaurant of your choice. But yeah, we have no input into the restaurant. Do we, Julian, or do we get to choose the restaurant?
No, none. They can choose.
Just joking. Okay, they can choose, yes. It's a joke. A pretty poor joke, but still a joke. Okay, so images, an overview of images. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, but we'll just go. I'm sure you all know what an image is, but let's just go through this anyway. So images make up a major part of online content. We're talking about logos, letterheads, photos of your staff, profile photos, background images, everything. An image is an image. It's a photo, it's a logo, it's an icon. I think you guys want to know what an image is. Images are very powerful because we can distinguish our brand, speak without text, and portray or convey certain emotions. There's a legal aspect to images, of course. Copying images, if you just Google an image you want and then copy it and put it on your website, that's tempting, but you can't do that. You can infringe on copyright laws, and that can result in a cease and desist letter or worse. So as tempting as it is, you can't just take images from anywhere and put them on your site. Quality, theme, style, and consistency. Images should be similar in style and themes across all of your channels. When we say channels, we mean website, social media, and other communications. There's also an SEO component to images and a user experience. You might see that referred to as UX sometimes. If an image is too slow to load or they don't look good on all devices, remember all your images have to work on a computer like we're looking at now. Widescreen, they also have to work on mobile. If they're poorly placed, images can hinder SEO and the user experience. So like everything on your website, you always have to take into consideration a number of factors. And if you're in the industry we're in, then SEO is always something you need to think about. So one of the big questions we're faced with whenever we're making a website for someone, or working on their social media, or we're trying to help someone get their sort of online act together, is where to get free images. Now, there are 3 very good image libraries we use. The range can be a little bit limited at times, but you would be amazed at how many images these places have. We use a place called Unsplash, we use a site called Pexels, and we use a site called Pixabay. So Unsplash is unsplash.com. I have it open here already. So let's say that you have a medical clinic and you are looking for an image to put at the top of your website in a hero section, for example. Or let's say maybe you have a physiotherapy page. You can come into unsplash.com, do a search for health, and there we see a bunch of very nice photos that you can download absolutely free that are broadly in the classification of health. And this image here features on about 900,000 doctor websites worldwide. So be a little bit careful, because I recognize a lot of these photos because everyone uses. So that's one thing I'll say. The other one I mentioned is Pexels, and the other one is Pixabay. They're all really good, but just be aware that these images are well used throughout the internet. We definitely do use them ourselves, but because we're an agency, we go for paid options quite often. There are a number of options you can go for. iStock is one of the most famous ones. Adobe Stock is really good, and Deposit Photos is also excellent. We use Deposit Photos extensively. Now, the thing to remember about all these is, well, Adobe Stock will cost you about $35. So if you don't use it, you don't get the best out of it, then they're actually a little bit restrictive in price, but they have a far greater range and higher quality. So I should also mention that I didn't mention it before, there'll be Q&A here. There's a Q&A box on the bottom of your Zoom screen there. So anytime you have a question about any of this, please just put it in the Q&A box, and then Julian will alert me, and then we will do our best to answer the question. Now, your phone. Can you take photos on your phone and use them on your website? And the basic answer was, well, yeah, you can. But some of the phones these days are obviously, if you have an iPhone 14 or whatever it is, they take amazing photos. But what we find is that they're best for sort of capturing things that happen in the clinic, or team events, that sort of stuff. Like really good on social media, sometimes good for your EDMs, for your email content, because they give authenticity. They allow you to show the personality of your clinic, of your staff. But I wouldn't, unless you're a professional photographer who knows how to use the iPhone brilliantly, I don't think you'll get the quality out of them that you need to have on your website, like on the home page of your website. I think it would be incredibly rare to have an image taken from your phone as the hero image on your homepage. So, editing images. Editing images to put on a website is something that should be really easy, but there's actually quite complicated. When you put anything on a website, you have to consider file size and file types, which we'll go through here. So file size, I mean two ways. I mean dimensions, like is it 1000 pixels by 600? Is it 2000 pixels? Is it 800 pixels wide? Is it 400 pixels high? That's what I mean dimensions. And then we have file size. Is it 25 kilobytes or is it 25 megabytes? That's what I'm talking about when I talk about file size and dimension size. And there's also file types. A JPEG, .jpg, you'll see on the end of a lot of photos. That is the most common form of image file. And it's great for photos. And it has amazing compression. You can compress 5 megabyte JPEG down to 50 kilobytes and barely notice the difference. It's a phenomenal file format. PNG is a file format that you use if you have large blocks of colors, diagonals, like this background we have here with the shapes and whatnot on it. This is PNGs, sharp shapes. If you do that with, if you make a PNG in a photo, it'll be an enormous file size. SVG is a file type which is a vector file. So that means it is it can be infinitely scaled. When I say scaled, I mean, here's a website I did back in the dark ages, and this Blue Pages logo is an SVG. And what that means is if I scale up forever, it never loses quality. No pixelation. That's an SVG. SVGs are also extremely small file sizes. They're like 5 kilobytes. And WebP, which is a new one, it replacing nearly all the ones I spoke about except for SVG. It's got better compression, smaller file size. Only downside is that it's not available on every single browser. So some browsers don't handle it well. Now, there's a rule of thumb, a very basic rule of thumb, which, rules are made to be broken, but we try to keep images that are in the main content of a website. When I say the main content, I mean, well, on this website, you mean the bits in between here, like that's the main content image, that one there on the right, not the top one, that's a hero section, but the main content, you should be no wider than 1,000 kilobytes or 1,000 pixels, and try and get it under 100 kilobytes, because if you don't, you're going to cause very long download times, and you're going to get bad SEO results, and you're going to get bad user experience, because if people are on their phones, they don't have a strong reception, they try and look at your website and the image goes never loads, people are not going to be happy. Now, editing images is tricky. It's not tricky for us because we do it all the time, but I and everyone who's from my generation would use Photoshop, but again, it costs you like $950 a year or more. But there's this great tool which you have no doubt heard of. It's an online image editor, and it's called Canva. And that is what we're going to be showing you how to use today. There's a free version of Canva, which has some limitations, and there is a bottom tier level of Canva you can buy, and it's like $17 a month or something. So it's very cost effective. And we're going to show you a couple of ways to use that today. So Julian, my colleague in the background, is actually more of an expert at Canva than I am because I use Photoshop. But I'm going to show you, we're going to do a live demonstration in a second with some with the web page that we've mocked up. That's going to try and demonstrate the things I've been speaking to you about thus far. And here we are at that part of the demonstration already. Julian, you'll be happy I'm getting through this one much quicker than last week. Are you happy?
Sure, I'm Nick. Thank you.
That's great. Let's do it. Okay. So what we've done is we've mocked up a web page on our website. So just use your imagination. This is not Heartbeat Digital Marketing. That's a PNG, by the way, that image. This is a family medical clinic services page. And we've got someone in the chat. So yes, Julian's just put that in the chat actually. So you can load that up on your own computer if you're interested. If you go to the chat box, you can click on the chat on the link in there, and you can load that on your own screen. So here we have put together a website with a web page, with a bunch of mistakes on. They may not be obvious at first, but let me talk you through them for a start. So images copied from the web. So what they have here is this. I'm not going to talk about the top image yet. I'm going to go here. This person has just gone to a website on their phone, clicked screen capture on their phone, and uploaded it to their website. They don't know how to crop images, so they've just left the bits on there from the phone, and even you can even see where they got the image from, Eating Well. Now, this is something we've mocked up, but these are all mistakes I have absolutely seen on websites we've worked on. So that's mistake one. Mistake two, they're using, so here we have a photo, and then all of a sudden we're using this icon, or this illustration. Then we have an image over here with text on it. Text on images is a very dangerous thing because it'll look way different on mobile. Very often you see someone will do, text on an image, and then the text is over to the left, image is over to the right. You look at it on a mobile phone, text is not visible. We also have this small image here, which is kind of pre-employment medicals. They do taxis, they do FIFO, they do train stuff, rail stuff, and it just sort of seems out of place. These images, this guy's on the wrong side, so they're it's an American. They're both American photos, and people notice this stuff. And then we go down to family health, and we just see clearly a stock photo, which also looks American, and is also, I can tell you, a massive file size, 3.2 megabytes. So this is a bunch of mistakes. Now I'm going to go in here, and also I should mention the top photo here looks like something out of a horror film. So they've that photo is available on stock libraries, free ones, and you type in hospital or something, and this comes up. And it looks like something from a horror film rather than something that looks welcoming. So I'm going to jump into the back end of this page now. I'm going to make some edits live, and then I've also got one I prepared earlier. I actually have two I prepared. So we use WordPress, by the way, to make our websites. And you'll see here, I've jumped into the back end of the site, and now I can make edits on this website. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to change this image here because A, it looks like scary, and B, you can't read the white text. It's totally illegible here when it goes into the white part of the photo. So I'm going to click on the image. I'm going to go through my image library, and hopefully this loads. Yep. And there's an image I prepared earlier that I thought told the story better of a family medical clinic. So when I'm thinking of family medical clinic, I'm not thinking that I need to have photos of doctors necessarily or the waiting room. I'm thinking of the actual family, because the people who are using the website will say, oh, well, that's a family, you know, it just tells a better story. So I'm going to use this image of a family that I found who were kids. We've got dad, we've got grandma and grandpa there. I think it's a nice photo that tells a nice story about this fictional clinic. Okay, so that's, I think, is already better, but obviously the white text is not readable. I'm going to go, this program we used has an overlay system, so I'm just going to darken up that photo a bit. Still totally visible, the photo, but now we can read our services. Now we can read, this is the Find All Your Medical Services under one roof at our practice. Great stuff. Diet and nutrition. Here we have this photo that which is again is taken from someone's screen capture on their phone, and we're going to replace that with something. Now, I'm going to try and take you through the whole process I will go through to replace this as quickly as possible. I'm going to go to our old friend Pexels to find an image. So the service we're talking about is a it's a dietitian and nutritionist that works at this clinic. I go across to Pexels, I do a search for nutritionist, and I go to find one. I go, wow, that's amazing. I found a great picture of a nutritionist thing. There's someone taking someone through a food chart. Great, avocado, love it. Good photo, obviously taken on a professional camera. I like it. I'm going to go to this little button here at the bottom right, download. And it wants me to say thank you to someone, and I'm not going to say thank you. I apologize, but I'm not going to donate. I apologize again. Now, when I download that image, it comes into my downloads up here, it's 3.2 megabytes, which is about 300 or 30 times too big on a website. If you put that on a website, you're going to get absolutely in massive trouble by Google. You're going to score badly on all their page speed things. Not a good idea. So what I would do, I would go into Photoshop now, and I would optimize this photo, change dimensions and everything, but unless you want to spend $1,000 a year, you're not going to do that. So you come across to Canva, canva.com. You can create your own login and stuff. It's very easy. You go to this button here which says custom size. I want to make this photo. I want to make all the photos on this homepage 900 by 600. The actual content width of the website is 900 pixels wide, so there's no point making this wider. I'm making it 900 by 600, which is a nice letterbox shape. I'm going to create the new design. And then as this loads, I'm going to go to uploads, upload a file. There it is. I've done this before. Yep. Upload this file. It's coming up. Coming up. It's coming up. Put in there. Yep. Beautiful. It's working. It's working. Drag this out to the 900 by 600. 900 by 600 dimensions. I'm going to click share. I'm actually going to call this. Actually, I can do this here. I'm going to call this nutritionist. It's always a very good idea to label your photos. Nutritionist. I'm going to click share. I'm going to click download. And it's suggesting a PNG file type, which is totally incorrect. So I would choose JPEG. 900 by 600 is the size, and the file quality, I know that I can get this down to about 50 quality, and that will mean the photo still looks good, and it will be much smaller, I hope. So it was 3.2 meg. I'm clicking download now, and when we go up and see how small it is, I'm hoping very much, yes, 27.3 kilobytes, down from 3.2 meg. So that is a lot smaller. So I come back to my website, I click on the image, and luckily for me, there's one I prepared in there. I've got it there. Beautiful, 31 kilobytes. And I should always put a alt tag on there. Because that's good practice, and there's a lot more that goes into it than that. That's not a good alt tag, but you should always have an alt tag and a title tag on all images for SEO purposes. And here I have replaced that shonky old photo with a brand new, totally free, absolutely free to use, high quality photo. Okay, now I'm not going to go through the whole page because that would take forever. So what I'm going to do is just take you through the new page I created. And I've replaced that shonky old photo, which we had before, that one, the haunted house, with a beautiful, well, at least a good photo of family. Click on the learn more. We go down here, and what I've actually done is I've replaced that, that photo with a little 2-column image layout here. So there's a nice photo of some beautiful food, and they're also utilizing the photo of the nutritionist. We go down, children's health. Our old image had this kind of like, just all of a sudden went into a illustrative mode for no reason, totally thematically inconsistent. And then we had this one with text on it. So I thought that's a bad idea. So now I just went to, I believe I went to, I think it was Pixabay to find this, and I did a search for kids, and this came up, and I thought that's a nice image. Nice, bright image that goes along very well with the theme that I've already established in this page. I come down the page, and here is where we ran into trouble with our pre-employment medicals. We had this funny, thin little image here. It kind of looked more like we were advertising industrial services. Then we had the two American images that sort of made no sense as well. So I thought that we have this page here, which is trying to communicate without that many words what they're offering. And you can see straight away that they do taxis, rail stuff, they do mining stuff. And there's a guy here, this is trying to communicate that they, it's a health check. They come to you, our team can come to your workplace. And I put 4 photos in a grid, and I think looks nice and communicates much quicker and in a much more authentic way. And these are Melbourne taxis, by the way. What we're trying to achieve. So family health at the bottom of this page, our old dodgy one, we had just a picture of 5 doctors, they don't look particularly happy. This image is absolutely available on, I think it was Unsplash. And they look unhappy, they look American to me. It just is it's one of those photos you see on a lot of websites that it just doesn't work. So I replaced it again with a stock image, but at least they're smiling, they're happy, family, and it just communicates to me far better that they do family health rather than having a bunch of doctors standing around who look American. Now, these obviously, I probably should mention also, clearly images are subjective, right? And this is something we talk to our clients about all the time. They like a certain type of image, and we try and work to the absolute best of our ability to make that happen. But in the end, someone will see this website that I've fixed up and go, I don't like those photos. I go, okay, tell me what you do like. Show me some images that you like, and then we can work with that. So I've done an alternate version of this page that takes a totally different style, and I'll show it to you now. So here is another way you could tackle the same sort of page. Again, here's our fictional clinic. Let's call it Heartbeat GP Clinic. And we have this other sort of approach to images. I've got this big sort of, this, I don't know, it gets more stylized with the paper cutouts, which is a popular kind of image that's around at the moment. Because of the layout of the image, I've had to change the layout of the text. That's okay. I just made text on the right rather than on the left. And then we go down and we try and keep a consistent theme as we go down the page. So diet and nutrition, I found this nice image of a heart with the tape measure there. So I was trying to say, you know, that's trying to communicate that we have a nutritionist here, and I think it works well. We've also got the blue going through the whole thing so far. Children's health, cute image here with a teddy bear, blue background again. We go down, pre-employment medicals, and here we have another image in the same sort of vein, blue background, yeah, and then down to the bottom we have the family health. So there's no right or wrong. There's just what you like and what you don't like. I think both of these approaches to our GP clinic family health will be totally fine. That said, the absolute gold standard that sits above all this stuff is you as a clinic owner or manager getting actual photos taken of your clinic and staff. That makes an absolutely massive difference because we can all recognize stock photos, right? And stock photos are great. They're a necessary thing. We use them all the time. But if you could go the extra mile and get actual real photos of your clinic, your staff, it makes an absolutely massive difference. I'll show you some examples in a second, but I should say also, when you decide to go down the path of this kind of stylized look here, this with the paper cutouts and the sort of cutesy photos, every single one of these is from a paid library. This is not possible. If you wanted to do that on every page of every website, which has 15 pages, and you know you might have 50 images on there, there's no way you're going to get that off these free libraries. Not possible. Okay, so I hope that makes some sense. And again, I'll show you our the initial page, which is like a horror show, has all the mistakes that we see very often. And then when we come back to my approach, we have, I think, a much nicer looking website page. And again, here's more of a stylized color. And I've gone for a very simple layout here, just a one column, just trying to make the images the main point of these pages. So hopefully you all have the link there in the Julian's saying, so you can look at that page. So we move on to images, do's and don'ts, do and do not. This is sort of practical stuff. So if you're working with an agency like us, try and avoid sending images embedded in things like Microsoft Word or Google Docs. We use Google Docs extensively. That's a great piece of software. But if you put an image into Google Docs, it's very hard to get it out of that image, out of the doc in good quality. And Microsoft Word is even worse. So you get your whole website content sorted, put all your images in Microsoft Word, send it to us, and we go, oh no, because it's a nightmare getting the images out of there. They're just not designed those word processing softwares are not designed to handle images well. Another thing to keep in mind is before you send images to someone, say on Slack, which is a chat program, we use Facebook, WhatsApp, all of these chat programs, software, they all compress images. So you'll send an image, it might be, really good quality. You get it at the other end on WhatsApp, for example, and it will be vastly different. So obviously they do that for obvious reasons, because they have to make it as easy to send across the world as possible. But just know that they all compress images. So if you want to send an image to your provider, an agency like us or whoever, send it as an email attachment or put it in a Google Drive or a Dropbox or some other technique like that, because they are what we call lossless. They don't lose quality. Here's a subjective point, which is set rules for images across all your communications. So across your website, Facebook, everything, Instagram, Google Business Profile, your printed material, everything. Maybe you have a set of rules. You say, we don't use filters for a start. That might be good. Or maybe you always use filters, just one or the other. Make a big point of having no overseas images in there. So people really know when you have a taxi driver who's on the website, for example. People notice that sort of stuff. And they think, well, if they can't be bothered getting an Australian image, then maybe they can't be bothered being a good doctor also. No fake sort of poses. And maybe then you have a color palette that you carry through your whole website / communications. Like I did with this example here, I went with this kind of like soft blue thing matched with maroon. So just try and keep consistency. Leave padding and spacing. So that means just, don't butt your photos up too close to each other. Make sure they've got room to breathe. Nice white space, the edges here, just helps people to, it's uncomfortable reading things which are spaced poorly. And of course, what we always say to everyone is hire a professional. Now that means a professional, if you possibly can, do it in the first instance to hire a photographer. Now we're not photographers, so I have no dog in this fight. We don't recommend any photographers, so we got nothing to gain, but having good photos to work with, particularly of, even if it's just professional photography of your team members, then that puts you so far ahead. Like for example, we have a client in Brisbane. They're brain surgeons, and they got a photographer to come in one day, and they just got such a collection of beautiful photos of their doctors and their clinic that we were able to use them for all over their website. So that here they are in the actual surgery. There's a nurse, there's a small one of their office, and there's their team. And we've been able to use these photos for forever. All the same photos of the doctors, all the same background, clearly very professional photos. And we've used that across their website and across their social media and everything for a number of years. So, it's great to have up-to-date photos, but don't think you have to get them done every single year. It's not practical, obviously, and depending on who you hire, it's probably quite expensive. But I'm just saying, if you can possibly get a photographer, do it. The other professional you should hire, obviously, is us, or God forbid, another agency, but most likely it'll be us. But that's a joke again, Julian. So no, if you hire, if you have enough time to do all this stuff, or maybe you have a history in this, maybe you studied something at university, maybe you're good at this, great, go for it. There are tools at your disposal, not all of them cost. WordPress, the website builder, is totally free, but you have to learn how to use it. Canva is, I think there's a free version, as I said, and there's also, a very, low cost version as well. So you can do this, but I think probably if you're attending this webinar and watching me talk about it, you probably don't have time to do all this stuff yourself. So that's what we're here for. We're here to try and well, not try. We're here to successfully help you do all this stuff. And we do it all the time, so we know how to do it. Okay, to wrap up, images are really essential. So just don't take it for granted. Don't put the same stock image that every single, doctor's clinic in the southern or northern hemisphere has. Look a little bit harder. Go the extra mile to make the effort to get a good photo, to get good photos. Stock images are, of course, necessary, and we use them all the time, but if you can get a good photos taken, please do it. And it actually makes, because it really makes a difference. Choice of images has a huge impact on your brand and your audience, and it's a really quick and easy way to make a big statement and to make your website look, better than your competitors, better than the others. By all means, try out the Canva and the other image resources we shared today. I'll show you again. So if you want to take a note, take a screenshot, it's Unsplash, Pexels, Pixabay, and they're all just unsplash.com, pexels.com, pixabay.com. Very easy. And look, you can get an enormous amount of stuff out of there, but if you want specific things, especially specific healthcare things, then you will need to get a paid provider. We already have the licenses, so if you work with us, we don't charge you for them. Obviously, that is something it's something we have to have. Have a look at your existing communications and images to get a feel for your messaging, and think about whether it's actually telling the right story. And you can usually tell, because what you normally do is you look at your own stuff and you go, oh, it's just not quite right. And then you look at your competitors and you go, you know what? They're doing what we want to be doing. So yeah, one of the easy ways to get a hold of whether you're doing this well is to look at your competitors, or even in another city, and just see if they're doing something that you think you should be doing. Hire a professional. I know I just said it on the last screen, but I think it's worth mentioning again. We deal with this stuff all the time, so we know about it. There's no mysteries here. We're totally on board with what you can, what you cannot do. Thank you again so much, everybody. We'll see you at the next. We will see you at the next webinar. Appreciate you taking the time out of your hectic schedule. And again, any questions, please just feel free to email me with anything